Hey guys, my name is Caleboster and I'm a realtor with Keller Williams. Today we are going to go over the 10 steps of buying your first home. Let's get started. Step 1 in buying your first home is finding yourself a great real estate agent. They're your ultimate guide through the home buying process. So you want to get yourself a buyer's agent. A buyer's agents are usually at no cost to you. They are also there to represent you, not the seller. Listing agents are there to represent the seller. So you could go in without an agent or use the listing agent to represent you as well. You're not doing yourself any favors. You want a buyer's agent that is completely dedicated to you. You want a buyer's agent that is familiar with your desired area, someone that knows the ins and outs to the area. Moving on to step 2, and that is making sure you are financially ready and able to qualify. That means talking to a well-qualified mortgage lender to find out if you can afford it and if you can even qualify. I know most of you don't want to talk to a lender yet because you aren't ready for them to pull your credit. But I'm here to tell you that they don't have to pull your credit until you're ready for them to. You don't want to waste your time or the realtor's time looking at homes that you can't afford or even qualify for anyway. Now, to meet the minimum requirements for conventional loan, you'll need at least a 620 credit score with a 3% down payment. FHA loans, you'll need at least a 580 credit score with a 3.5% down payment. VA loans, you'll need at least a 620 credit score with a 0% down payment. And last but not least, USDA loans, you'll need at least a 640 credit score with a 0% down payment. Now to say all that, these aren't the only options out there. There is also the FHA 203K loan, the DSCR loan, loan options with down payments assistance, and more. You want to talk to your mortgage professional and see what options are right for you. Feel free to send me a message and I'll get you in contact with one. Finally, it's important to note that it can be about 2 to 6 month buying process. You don't know how long it will take to find a house, and it takes an average of 30 days to close on one. Now coming to step 3. Get pre-approved. Getting pre-approved with a qualified mortgage professional so you're prepared when it's time to make an offer. I kind of went over this in the second step a little bit, but this step is really important. This means going over the process of submitting all your documents and paperwork that the mortgage professional requires in order to get that pre-approval document. The reason why I say it's important is because if you start looking at houses without a pre-approval, you're wasting your time and the realtor's time. You don't know how much you can afford, and sellers don't like offers that you don't have pre-approval for. You also might miss out on your dream home. So now that you've figured out how much you can afford, found your realtor, and gotten pre-approved, we can move on to step 4. Drum roll, please. House hunting. You can now start house hunting. This is what you've been waiting for, right? Now, what I would encourage you to do is start a wish list. I like my clients to break it down into 2 lists. A list of what you want in a home and a list of must-haves in your home. It will make your house hunting process a lot smoother. It is important to note that there is no such thing as a perfect home. Compromises will have to be made at some point. Also, your first home doesn't always have to be your dream home. Your budget may not allow for it. Now that you've figured out what you want, your agent will more than likely start sending you properties. You can always send them some as well. Then you can go with your agent who will set up showings for you and privately to the homes you're interested in. Which leads us to our next step, step number 5, which is make an offer. One big advice that I would like to give you is don't wait too long to make an offer on a house that you really like. If you're looking at it, so are other buyers. A night to think about it could make you miss out on that house. The buyer that looked at it yesterday may be putting their offer in yesterday. Now, in a lot of markets, sellers will usually take 24 hours to respond to those offers. When they will respond in 1 to 3 different ways. Either they will accept the offer, reject the offer, or submit a counteroffer. Now, just because they reject the offer does not mean it's over. You still have a chance to submit a different offer if they haven't already accepted someone else's offer. Alright guys, we're halfway there. We're on step number 6 now. Submit the earnest money and get a home inspection. At this point, the seller has accepted your offer and everything has been signed. If they haven't, it's time to go back to step 4. If they have accepted your offer, it's time to submit your earnest money and perform inspections. Earnest money is something you would have agreed to when you submitted the contract. This needs to be done in the form of a check, not cash. If you don't know what it is, you're basically putting up funds to say that we're risking these funds because we want this house. It can also be called good faith money. You do have the ability to get it back, but only in certain times of the process, like after the inspections or after the appraisal. The amount will depend on what you decided is a fair amount. Depending on the market, it's usually 1% of the purchase price or lower, sometimes as low as $500. And just so you know, the money typically goes towards your closing costs at the end. Now, we're ready for home inspections. Besides the earnest money, inspections are one of the only out-of-pocket costs that you'll have to deal with. They typically cost $350 and up depending on your market and the inspections you perform. Now, it's important to note that these home inspectors are trained generalists, not specialists. As an agent, I always recommend doing a termite, sewer, and a radon inspection on top of the regular home inspection. If it has a septic tank, I would get an inspection for that as well. If you're concerned about the roof or the foundation, I would get one of those inspections as well. Now, you generally have an inspection period where you have a certain amount of days to perform the inspections, usually around 10 days in my market. It's very important to remember that inspection reports could shock you if you aren't prepared. Every home inspection is going to have a lot of repairs that are needed. Again, no house is perfect. You want to pay extra attention to the big repairs that are going to cost you a fortune or are deal breakers. Now that you've gotten your inspection report back, it's time to negotiate repairs. As long as you didn't take it as is, you have the opportunity to do that during the inspection period. What I usually talk about with my clients is that any items that are not working properly are warranted requests, like a drain not draining or a light switch not working. Things like repainting the walls are not. The seller then has 5 days in my market to come back with a response. They can respond in one of 3 ways. They can come back saying they'll fix everything, or they won't fix anything, or they'll fix some things. Once you agree and everything is signed, sellers should start making those repairs. Then we move on to step 7, setting up home insurance and utilities. You want to make sure your investment is protected, and your lender will require you to have some home insurance throughout the life of the loan. Be sure to call around to find the best rate. Every company is not the same. Now we can set up utilities. You'll want to call the utility companies to get all of them set up and scheduled for the date of closing. Things like gas, water, electric, trash, etc. Some cities will have everything wrapped up into one bill. You'll want to ask your realtor, contact the city, or do a web search to find out. Now we are moving along to step 8, the appraisal. At the same time, you'll be setting up the insurance and utilities. The lender will schedule the appraisal. The appraisal is there to protect the bank, not you. The bank will only lend you up to the appraisal value of the house. They aren't going to give you more money than the house is worth. If for some unknown reason you defaulted on the loan, they aren't going to lose any money if they take the house back. There are 3 different appraisal outcomes. The appraisal could come back above the sales price. This is great for you because you'll have some built-in equity. The appraisal may come back at the sales price. This happens a lot. The last outcome is the appraisal could come back under your sales price. In the event that this happens, the bank will not lend you extra money to cover the difference between the sales price and the appraisal value. Now, you do have a couple different options if this happens. Number 1 is if you have some cash reserves to cover the difference, you have that option. Number 2 is that you could negotiate with the seller to bring the price down. Depending on the seller, they may be understanding and realize that their home was overvalued. Number 3 is if the seller does not drop the price or you can't come up with an agreement, then you have the ability to back out. Don't forget to pause, maybe move around a bit. Don't be sitting for too long because we're moving on to step 9, the final walkthrough. You'll want to make sure all repairs that you agreed upon during the inspection period are completed, as well as making sure the house looks the same as it did when you saw it last. The last thing you want to see when you walk into your new home after closing is a flooded basement, missing appliances, damages that weren't there before, a squatter, etc. Once you've done your walkthrough, it's finally time to close in your home. Step 10. Prior to closing, the lender will make sure all documents have been submitted. Everything has been signed and approved so that way you are cleared to close. Generally, these documents will talk about the purchase price, how much your down payment is, all the insurance and taxes. It will cover all the cash to close and the monthly payments, etc. It is a full breakdown of your loan. You will also want to arrange your payment of your cash to close via a cashier's check from your bank or a wire transfer. Your agent will help you get through this process. You will need to do this ahead of time. You can't just roll in with a duffel bag full of cash. That's not how this works. When it's time to head to your closing table, you will either head to the title company or a real estate attorney's office. You want to make sure you bring your ID or a driver's license and your cash to close, if needed. Hopefully your agent and your lender will attend this closing with you and can help with any questions you may have. However, this is not always the case. Once all paperwork is signed and you receive your key, you are officially homeowners. Congrats! Now wait a minute, when does my payments actually start? And this is a good question. Your first payment is typically due on the 1st of the month, 30 days after you close. Let's say you close mid-July. Well, you won't actually have to pay your first payment until the 1st of September, allowing you a little wiggle room before you have to start paying. Well, that is it for this video. I know it was a long video, but I appreciate you sticking it out. If you have any further questions, please do not hesitate to comment or send me a message. I will read and respond to each one. Don't forget to like, subscribe so you can see more content like this. Thank you so much for watching.